Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Looks over the middle, second guesses, fires, throws. Does he make the catch in the end zone? Yes! Touchdown! Oladipo to win it.
Another one! Another one! Huge hole! He's at the 30! He's gonna go! 10, 5, touchdown! Jonathan Taylor!
Galloway finds Rob Finnessy, who fires the three, and
He hit it!
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, of course, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Whether you're listening to us on a radio station or a podcast or even YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, as always, with me as co-host. Of course, we're brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington, AndyMooreHonda.com, where you can always find the best deals on new and used vehicles, and Endeavor Hospitality's Wow Club. Make sure you go to your Apple app or Google Play Store, sign up for the Wow Club, start earning Wow rewards today to great places like BB's Market, where we will be on Friday. Back there, live, I had some folks, Ryan and Sherry, stopped by. They traveled down and played golf this weekend. They went to BB's for breakfast. Said it was amazing. I'm like, oh, I know. It's good stuff. How is everybody?
Looks like we got I'm doing great. I'm headed to the cocktail party this weekend. I got burgers. I got
Are they allowed
brats.
are they still allowed to call it that?
No, they call it like the River City Showdown or River City Shootout or
stop. Yeah, stop. That's just horrible. So just go back to the.
So
all
I
right,
call it
the world's
party.
greatest, what was it? The world's largest cocktail party? Is that what they called it?
World's largest outdoor cocktail party.
Florida, Georgia.
Yep. So I'm fired up about that. Got all the ingredients for good food, good cocktails, and heck of a good time. I don't know that the game's going to be that great, but it'll be a fun time leading up to the game.
Jennifer wishing a happy 82nd birthday to Robert Montgomery Knight. Larry says Justin Fields last night, 13 completions, 179 yards, 14 carries for 82 yards. Yeah. We'll talk about that game. Trust me, I watched it. Heath, Jennifer, Robert, waiting on some rain. Yeah, I thought we were supposed to get like 100% chance of rain today, and I look out, and it's still I still see blue skies all around.
You know what's weird about
94%. It
Yeah.
says 94%. So things are going to change. I'm going to have to pull up the radar. Things are going to have to change quickly because blue sky is out there.
It's always interesting that they use chance, the word chance. It could be 100% chance of rain. Cover all your bases, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we could certainly use it. I can tell you that. As everyone jumping on. Last night on the Manning cast, they had President Obama, Bill Burr, and Vince Vaughn on there. So that was kind of fun. Of course, I just watched the Manning cast. Little nuggets like Peyton Manning talking about the I think it's the Chicago line who had two guards that apparently didn't practice all week and they ran some play. And Peyton's like, oh, yeah, that's it. Let's run behind two guards that haven't practiced all week. They ran. And then another time he's like, if you're in the huddle and you have to introduce yourself to a lineman, let's don't run behind that guy.
That's probably not a good sign. Yeah.
No. Oh man, he's always got some good ones. How's everybody doing? Everybody jumping on? There's Ryan. Ryan was down from up north down playing golf. Saw him and Sherry. So great to see those guys. Caleb Nost says the percentage, I just lost him. The percentage is just based on what portion of that zip code will likely receive rain, not the entire city. So there you go.
Hey,
Dustin Schutte.
I learned something today. How about that?
There you go. Heath asking, will the IU exhibition game be shown on Big Ten Network a day after the actual game is played? You know what? A lot of times you can look at the programming and see what they have scheduled. I don't know, though, since they're really trying to push, that's part of having it on the Big Ten Plus is so they can push that extra network. Everybody's got to have the plus. I just saw, as a matter of fact, apparently you can watch all the Pacers games with Bally Plus. Is that right?
That's not how I do it, but I believe that you can now. I believe you can get the app, yes, and then it'll stream, I think, specific teams. So I think it's kind of like NBA League Pass. But you can subscribe and get a specific team. So you could do that either through Bally Sports or through NBA League Pass. If you don't have Bally, this is probably gonna not be great for Chris Denary, but I think you would rather go League Pass because I think it's actually cheaper to go League Pass than it is Bally Sports. That's just I having done NBA League Pass, I think it's like $13.99 for one team, and I think the Bally Sports app is $20. So unless you're watching multiple teams.
Well, speaking of multiple teams, how about the Colts? Sam Ehlinger taking over his QB1 as the Colts have benched Matt Ryan, but I saw a stat that was absolutely astonishing this morning. The Colts have paid, since 2018, the Colts have paid 12 different quarterbacks $145 million.
That's
and
insanity.
what have they gotten for that?
Nothing. Do you know what it reminds me of?
Absolutely nothing. You know how many lives that would have changed? Mine, for one.
Probably just about everybody else in the state of Indiana.
Oh, I could probably find 143 other people.
Yeah. Do you remember that?
You noticed I kept $2 million of that and gave everybody else $1 million.
Hey, that's still pretty generous.
I thought so.
Do you remember that Cleveland Browns jersey? And it had, I can't remember who the initial quarterback was on the back of the jersey.
Was it Brown?
Was it Brown?
Yeah.
I don't know. Might have been.
It's a joke.
They had, but it had the list of names on the side of like all the different quarterbacks, and it went past the end of the jersey. That's basically what the Colts have been doing since Peyton Manning.
You're not lying. You're not lying. That's a great point. I think of the Browns, and I think of a quarterback carousel.
Yep.
Which is what the Colts have become. But when we have Bob Kravitz on tomorrow, I mean, he's just going to go off because he's been saying this for a couple of years, I think. Stop playing around with the most important position in all of sports. The most important position in all of sports is the quarterback on a football team. Yep. Not the point guard on a basketball team, not the leadoff hitter, not the top pitcher. The quarterback on an NFL football team is the most important position in all of sports from a playing standpoint. And the Colts have just pissed it away. Now, I get it that they were left in the lurch by Andrew Luck.
Yeah.
He screwed them hard.
Right.
I mean, leaving is one thing. Leaving before the season, I think that's a little gutless. But whatever. But they've had time to recover. More than enough time to recover. And I'll be honest with you. You would think a Matt Ryan would work, but every time it's been an aging quarterback. or an also ran. Dude, you've got a $145 million. Do you think that they could not have signed a top-notch quarterback for $145 million 6 years ago?
Right.
Well,
yes.
maybe not 6 years ago, but Phillip Rivers commenting here. Just kidding. Quarterback purgatory. Yeah. Kind of like coaching purgatory at Indiana.
I think the thing that's very frustrating.
Our friend Tom Medford from Louisville says, "What about the center on a play ball team?"
I like that. The thing that's frustrating is they've had opportunities. Like they could have made moves through the draft to try to move up, to try to get somebody. We'll see what Sam Ehlinger can do, but he's not going to be the answer. Not only that, I think two things can be true at the same time. Number one is Matt Ryan is not the same quarterback that a lot of people thought he was, including myself. I thought Matt Ryan going to come in, maybe not as good as he.
Oh, every time I hear that, I go into my Muhammad Ali. How would I? I talked to your wife the other night. She says you're not the same man you were 2 years ago.
Exactly. That's basically what Matt Ryan has become. But the other part of it is too, their offensive line is so bad that I almost don't know that it matters who's back there unless it was somebody like Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson, because they have to be so fleet-footed to get away. Like there were times, this has been all season, but it was especially noticeable last week against Tennessee. There were times that Matt Ryan would take the snap and a Tennessee defender would already be in the backfield or at the line of scrimmage. There's no chance for that. So it's a problem because they've invested. Pat McAfee said this the other day. They've invested in all the areas you need to invest. They invested in the defensive line. They invested in the offensive line. They got help in the secondary. And then they went out and tried to get a quality quarterback, and just none of it is working.
Heath says, is Reich on the hot seat? You know, yes. I would have said no even in the middle of this, but if this continues, I would not have thought that no matter what. But is it Reich's fault if he doesn't have the players?
He does, though.
Does he have the quarterback?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know if he's got the quarterback, but they have. I don't know. I'm not smart enough to know if this is a coaching problem or if this is a talent problem. But they went out. They've paid the offensive line. Like they should have the pieces to be good. I don't know if it's scheme. I don't know if it's attitude. I have no idea what it is.
Right here.
But the Colts are paying too much to be bad.
What about the O line?
Yeah, their offensive line is terrible. It is.
Well, see, all right. So this is just like IU.
It is, yes.
Now thank you, sir. Connor Bazelak, I don't want to have two different conversations, but these are very parallel conversations. Indiana and the Colts, very similar. Their offenses just stink. Yeah. Indiana's offense is much, much worse because at least the Colts have Jonathan Taylor.
True.
Indiana does not have Jonathan Taylor. But it's you got to get it done. I mean, is Reich on the hot seat? I wonder, is Chris Ballard on a hot seat?
That's a good question too. That really is.
He's the one that's putting these together. He's the one he's the guy that has quarterbacked $145 million to 12 different quarterbacks in the last 6 years. So that's on his watch.
Let me tell you, we saw Jim Irsay. There was a video that captured him leaving Nissan Stadium. He was not happy. I think if things continue, I don't know when the point's going to come, but there's going to be a time when he's going to have to make some very difficult decisions. And I had not thought of the Chris Ballard aspect of it, but I think both of those guys are feeling a little uncomfortable with how this season has gone, because not only did Jim Irsay want to get to the playoffs, he wanted to win games and be competitive in the playoffs. And there's just no chance that's going to happen.
Pissed off. We'll talk a little bit more about this. as well as plenty more to get to. College basketball right around the corner. College football is in its throw. Mike DeCourcy joins us next from the Sporting News. Chronic Hoosiers on today as well. Looking forward to it. Maybe Harry Carey joins us. Who knows? Ed Orgeron, Elvis, you never know. Oh, man. I'll take another peanut butter and nanner sandwich. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from BB's Market, part of the WOW Club. Make sure you go to your Apple app, Google Play Store, sign up for the WOW Club, start earning WOW rewards today, but make sure you stop into BB's Market. And as a matter of fact, if you're in the Bloomington area, or going to be, like this Friday, coming in for the IU game on Saturday, stop in to BB's. We'll be there live doing the show. Lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Mike DeCourcy joins us next, right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
Oh, they're starting Sam Ellinger the rest of the season.
Really?
Oh, that's what ESPN
Oh,
says.
look, a double dose of Pacers gear today.
We match.
DeCourcy.
We're twins.
How
See
about
it, Dustin?
that? That's what I'm talking about. Well, he can't wear his Pittsburgh Steelers stuff because apparently he's the most disliked man in Pittsburgh right now.
I am?
Well, I saw that you got a lot of traction on some of the Kenny Pickett stuff that was being tweeted.
I got a little support too, though.
Oh, did you? Okay, good. I saw.
There were. I think that tweet got about 50 likes. I'd have to look at it and see how much, what my ratio was, as they say. But
there was only. I only saw two. I only saw the two negative comments that popped up because I think you responded to them. So that's probably what I saw. But I remember we talked about that on the show after week 1 or week 2 or something.
Yeah, I'm happy for Kenny because I've never seen anybody get less heck in Pittsburgh for doing the things he's done.
True. Yeah.
I mean, he's ended 2 games with interceptions that cost them victories, and it's okay. It's Kenny. We're good. Okay.
That's funny.
All right, here we go.
Producer with Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're now a part of the Rivals Network. TheHoosier.com is where you can find complete coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and plenty more. Simply go to TheHoosier.com and sign up. It's free. You can also find full episodes of Indiana Sports Beat Radio on the homepage or on the station every week, Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this Tuesday at Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on what I thought was going to be a rainy day, but I still see blue skies out there, and that may be because Mike DeCourcy joins us from the news. How about that segue, baby?
Oh, I like that.
Is that a Pacers jacket? I can't.
It is.
Looks
it
like,
is.
yeah.
It turns out that Dustin and I are
nice looking.
twins.
Looks like it's a nice looking jacket, though.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
You should have saw Dustin. What day was it?
That was last Wednesday, opening night.
Oh my God, he looked like a 12-year-old kid. He had his Pacers hat on. He had his Pacers jersey on. I promise he had his Pacers underwear on. Maybe they were probably footies. They were probably footy underwears, pair of pants. But yeah, he was all decked out, ready to go, man. I mean, I forgot last week. Chris Denari's on each Thursday with us, and I meant to try to set it up to get Dustin to be a ball boy. He needs to be an honorary ball boy.
And I promised not to injure any players, like Miles Turner stepping on. I think it was a low-level assistant, not a ball boy, but he stepped on somebody pregame before the first game, suffered an ankle sprain. So I promise I will stay out of the way if I get to be the ball boy just for one game.
Yeah, they need all the help they can get for sure.
Yeah.
I'd rather you be Victor Wembanyama, but we'll see how it goes.
I don't think they're going to need much help in tanking this year, but they've been at least fun to watch. They don't roll over and get beat by 40 points every night. So there's little victories.
Right. Absolutely.
A little soccer down in the Evansville area before I don't fail to mention this. Indiana men's soccer plays University of Evansville. The Purple Aces tonight at 6 down in Evansville. The IU Alumni Association of Evansville is hosting a tailgate starting at 4:30. Everyone is welcome. Don't know where that's taking place. I wasn't given that information, but I'm sure it will be given to me. Toot sweet. I believe they played. Did they not play Kentucky over the weekend? Just not to get on that subject, but since it was brought up, and now I can't see the daggone.
Yeah, Indiana lost 3-0 at home, unfortunately.
What?
They did.
Holy crap.
And Kentucky's ranked number 2 in the country as well.
I don't care. When's the last time Indiana lost 3-0 at home?
And also saw it was Kentucky's first win in Bloomington since 95, I believe.
Exactly. So we won't talk about that anymore. Man. Whoo! That's a rough one there, Mike. Yikes.
Yes.
Holy cow. Yeah, oh man. I'm glad I started to go to that game. I'm glad I didn't now. That would have been highly disappointing. But it's always great to watch some great soccer. And for those of you in the Evansville area, there you go. You've got that coming to you. Mike, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well this morning. Absolutely. Back from a trip down to Carolinas to see some people at Duke and Carolina, and spend a little time with Commissioner Emeritus or whatever, retired Commissioner Jim Delaney. Was great to get a chance to see him and spend some time with him.
The former Big Ten commissioner.
Yes, absolutely. And I saw the current ACC commissioner as well, Jim Phillips, and got a chance to have dinner with him.
The former should have been Big Ten commissioner.
Well, he was a fine candidate for the job, and they hired Kevin Warren, who's doing a great job, and Jim's now doing a great job for the ACC. And his challenge is a little different at this point than what Kevin faces. Obviously, the key for Kevin was to land that plane to make sure that they got the best possible television contract, and that's been achieved. And now for Jim in the ACC, it's to try to make sure that the ACC understands that they're better together than apart. And I think that he's got that going in the right direction. I think, other than they'd obviously all like to have more money than they're getting now, I think they like being in the ACC. They like the competition amongst each other. And I think that's something that people in our business sometimes overlook. That, yeah, like I said, everybody would like to have more money, but also Carolina, Virginia, Duke, Wake, they fit nicely together. It's a good league. It's a league that works. And I think that's too easily discarded, sometimes by members, but also by the people in our business who are trying to, who like the chaos and think the chaos of conference realignment is interesting. And so we're always pushing for more.
And do we eventually get to basically the NFL model.
No, because it's not the NFL.
I know.
How do you take 130 teams and turn them into the NFL? It's not.
Well, but there's not 130 teams that are going to be vying for the national championship each year.
Okay, then how do you take 65 teams?
I know. Trust me, I know it opens up a whole different can of worms. It's just hard to look at the future and like, all right, where are they going? What's going to happen? What is going to happen to teams like Duke, North Carolina, Wake Forest, who has great basketball tradition, but terrible football tradition, a la Indiana. But because all those ACC, Atlantic Coast teams, they're not going to just disappear, but they don't have a lot of football presence. You've got Clemson, and that's kind of it at the moment. And the same with the Big 12. They've got a little more cachet going for them, but they don't have a lot in numbers. And it's the same with the Pac-12. Those conferences are not just going. These teams are not going away. But what do you do with them? Because there's going to be movement and change as we go forward. I don't know what it is, but.
Well, I think there will always be movement, but I think we're getting to the point to a sort of critical mass now where the current members of the leagues that are economically advantaged, say, are at the point now where there isn't anyone out there who is going to make them more economically advantaged. And that any further expansion there may be a little wiggle or whatever, but further expansion in the economically advantaged conferences, what does it do for the current members? Who out there is going to move your needle enough to say, okay, let's have more members. Let's make our league less exclusive because they're going to make us more money. Well, there's nobody out there that can do that for either side, for either the SEC or for the Big Ten, other than Notre Dame. Take Notre Dame and either put them at the center of this discussion or on the fringe of it. At the center, you say they can do it. On the fringe, you say they're not going to do it because they don't want to. They don't want to be in your league. They don't want to be in anyone's league. It's not you, it's them. They don't want to be in a league. They like their existence the way it is. And their whole drive now is, okay, if being a Big Ten member pays X, can we get X minus Y, which is, something close to X? That's what their whole drive is right now in terms of where they are from a football standpoint. Now they know what a Big Ten game on NBC in primetime is worth. So they want to be able to get that 3:30 game or whatever time they play, 2:30, I guess, in most of their time. They want to get that 2:30 game to be worth X minus Y. And if they get that, they're going to be happy as heck because that's what they want. That's how they want to operate their program. And as I've said on your show and many others, I don't understand their commitment to independence. It doesn't make competitive sense to me, but it's theirs. And so you take them out of it, and then who else is there? Clemson's not going to make the SEC richer. Oregon and Washington are not going to make the Big Ten richer. They're not. The money's not in it. If the money was in there, then it would have happened this time around, because then it would have been a massive job to incorporate all four schools. But they would have only had to do it once. If there was money in it, that's what had happened. But there's not. And so if you're Indiana or you're Illinois or someone like that, and you're trying to build your program up in football in particular, obviously those two have done plenty in basketball. But if you're trying to build your football program up, two more teams that you have to compete against doesn't make you better. And if it doesn't make you richer and it doesn't make you better, then what's the point?
I agree. Something else that came out yesterday, the Big Ten for football is staying with the East-West divisions next season, at least. That is the final season before UCLA and USC join. I assume they'll go divisionless after that. I don't know what they're going to do after that. The divisions. They may
change the divisions. I mean, adding.
I think the divisions are stupid the way they do it now anyway, because wins, losses in the other divisions still count against this division, your division race. And I'm like, if it's a divisional race, it should just be divisional race. That should only count. Whether you win or lose that division should be against the competition within that division, not cross division, or they might as well count games against anybody they play if they're going to do that.
Well, I'm not sure about that, Jim. I mean, it is a league, and like if you're in the AFC North, I mean, it doesn't only count the games against the Steelers, Bengals, Browns, and Ravens. It also counts the games against the Jets. And
right, but what's the point of having divisions if you're going to do that?
Well, I just explained it. I mean, you're playing in a league, and so the league standings matter, and then it might be a tiebreaker on how you do within your division. But you're playing against a league. You're playing in the case of Big Ten football, you're playing 9 games. So how do you fare in those 9 games is what decides where you stand in the league. I mean, remember, if you did it your way, you could be, let's say, Wisconsin, and you could go undefeated against Illinois, Nebraska, et cetera. And then when you got to the other side, you could lose to Indiana, Penn State, and Maryland and Rutgers, and you could go into the championship game at 5-4 or something like that. So that wouldn't work very well. You want the best possible team to represent that division in the championship game because you want the best possible champion. So that's why it matters your whole league standing. I think that divisional ranking record makes sense as a tiebreaker if you have 2 teams that finish 7-2. But you have to go with the overall record, or you wind up with the potential of teams in a championship game that aren't very good.
Dustin, both of you, what do you think that now once UCLA and USC come in, do you think they're going to stick with divisions, or are they going to go to the route of the Big 12 and just do away with divisions? I don't know what they're going to do, because then they'll be up to 16 teams.
16.
Yes. So you'd have 8. I don't know. I still think they might readjust the divisions. I don't know. To me, it doesn't make much sense how you would just do. I know the Pac-12 is doing it, so we'll kind of see how that goes this year. They did away with divisions. The Big 12 obviously doesn't have divisions. I think you can still do divisions in the Big 10, because you're going to have, and you could keep a 9-game conference schedule, because at 8 teams in each division, you're going to play 7 division games, and then you have 2 crossover games. So that alone would kind of eliminate what you're talking about, Jim, where then you only have 2 games against cross-division teams, and those games don't have as much of an impact then on who's going to play in the Big Ten championship game. That would be probably my preference. I know everybody wants to see the divisions readjusted because the East is dominated. There's no question about that. But I also still argue that if you just moved Ohio State to the East and maybe like Iowa or somewhat Purdue Ohio State to the West, and then Purdue or Iowa or somebody like that.
Well, you'd have East, USC and UCLA coming into the West.
Divisions would be fine. But no, I'm just saying, I think a lot of people want to see divisions and have talked about divisions going away because the East wins the Big Ten championship game every year. But I think that's more of an Ohio State thing than it is East and West.
If they just,
I don't think it's just Ohio State, though. I mean, it's also, if you look at traditionally, the 3 strongest programs in the league are Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. So it's a triumvirate thing. You go back in history, and Michigan has won national championships. Penn State has won national championships. Ohio State has won national championships. How far back into history do you have to go to find a current Western Division team that has done that? Was it 90? Nebraska would have been the last one. Was that 90? Yeah. So that's and Nebraska has not done what they've not been the program, over the last 15 years or so that they were, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
Right.
If they were to keep East-West divisions and just brought UCLA and USC in and left them in the West, someone from the current West would have to move to the East.
I think the obvious candidate for that would be Purdue geographically, and it would make sense. But you might want to rebalance. he mentioned Ohio State moving. I mean, obviously, geographically, it would make more sense for Michigan to move, but then that would split them from Michigan State.
But also, when you had USC, UCLA, I think you should be adding some balance there. I mean,
a little bit.
USC
but
is coming.
You still have the leagues, 3 of the 4 strongest programs in the league on the one side, because SC traditionally has, and recently has had terrific programs. They haven't over the last few years, but it hasn't been that long. I mean, since they beat Penn State in the Rose Bowl in what was 2016, I think, 2017 Rose Bowl. I think that it's that they've been really good recently. So I do think that I do think there's still a little bit of an imbalance there, but SC coming in and UCLA coming in at a reasonably high point in their football history, at least adds some balance if you decide to stick with divisions.
We've got to take a break. The great Mike DeCourcy is with us from the Sporting News. Make sure you give him a follow if you don't already, and be a subscriber. Or, pull up the Sporting News. Free content all the time. We've got lots more coming up. Dustin Schutte's with us as always as well. We'll be right back with it. Brought to you by Go Team, part of the WOW Club and the WOW Network. Make sure you go to your Apple App Store, Google Play Store, sign up, start earning WOW rewards today. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Golfers, here's the deal. Do you have anything specific, Mike, that you I'm looking for man. What's their newest piece out?
The last piece I put out was just some soccer stuff about the women's draw. The women's draw was held. The women's World Cup draw was held over the weekend. That's the last thing I wrote. I'm trying to think of what I wrote before that.
Hey, did
the tournament expansion came up again last week.
And Dane Fife was on with me, a week ago today.
Right. Yeah.
And then in the comments, which I find this hard to believe, someone said that he was on dockets after, which I knew that the next day, but said he immediately went on that show and said he was the coach in waiting. He said it more than once. I don't believe that.
I don't know. That doesn't sound right.
I would have to go back and listen to it.
Yes.
But I just can't imagine him saying that.
No, I mean, he specifically said to me in the article that – I'm sorry, what were you saying, John?
That would have made way more head waves if that was said on the show, wouldn't it? I feel like it would.
I would think so.
I would think so, too. I just don't understand why people –
No, I mean, he specifically said to me in the article that he was offered it and declined it. It was offered to be put in his contract, and he declined that opportunity. And so I don't know why he would contradict that at this point. I mean, it was something he said on the record multiple times to me. And when the article was published, he didn't dispute that he said it. He had no problem with the article that I wrote. So I don't understand that. But
two people just said that they listened to the show and he didn't say that. Yeah, Leslie and Jennifer just said in the comments he didn't say that.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't believe it.
All right, here we go.
Financing for well-qualified buyers on all 2017 through 2021 Honda certified pre-owned Accords, Civics, CRVs, HRVs, and Pilots. See dealer for financing deals. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer. Get more to your door with AndyMooreHonda.com.
Come see us at the all-new Andy Moore Honda, now in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat. On this Tuesday, sounds like some funky Cole Medina music there, boy. Welcome to the lounge. Well, I can see my man hitting up on the bass guitar there. Bow, 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 bow. That's some great Mike DeCourcy music there, baby. What do you listen to?
I have very eclectic musical taste, Jim. I like everything. I mean, there's very little music I don't like. Probably the only thing I really don't like is death metal or something like that. Not for me. Thrash metal, whatever you want to call it.
Someone named that the other day, and I forget what they called it, but I'm like, I know what you're talking about. That's that stuff where they just scream. I'm like,
yeah,
who in the hell? That's not even. That's not music. That is just screaming. That is just. There is no point, even when I was 19 and dumber than I am right now. Did I like that? I mean, at no point did I want anything to do with that. I'm like, yeah, no, I don't. I'm good there. But let's see. Quickly, Benedict Mathurin joined Reggie Miller as the only Pacer rookies to score 20-plus points off the bench in back-to-back games. Mathurin has just proven to be the right draft pick for the Pacers and their future, it seems, at the moment.
Yeah, I thought that the Pacers had bad luck in the lottery in the sense that they fell all the way to number 6. But I thought that Ben was a terrific addition. I was hoping that they had the opportunity to draft Jaden Ivey because I don't think that there are many players like him out there, and that if that didn't happen, I like the idea of Keegan Murray because I know he's going to be a point producer, and he has been as well to this point. But Ben was a great player to get at number 6, and I thought it was the right way to go. With Shaedon Sharpe on the board, he has shown the great physical ability that he has, but I didn't like the way Shaedon his approach or the approach that was directed to him by his handlers or whatever. I didn't like the way he approached his development and his his 6 months at Kentucky. So I like getting a player like Mathurin who's shown he's a competitor, that has great physical ability, that has great mental acuity for the game. I thought it was a great draft pick. That's the second year in a row that with the pick that they had, they did the best possible thing. The year before, I liked Chris Duarte a lot, and he's done very well. It's just a team that isn't quite ready to be successful in the league, and I don't know where that leads them this year. This is not a bad year to be awful with Wembanyama out there. He's an extraordinary talent. And so the opportunity to get someone like that is very inviting. And I totally understand why they or anyone else would be in the interest in trying to be in the lottery next year. There was a piece, there was the revelation that the commissioner, Adam Silver of the NBA, spoke to Phoenix Suns employees last week and talked about how they look at tanking as a problem, and that they had discussed the possibility of promotion and relegation to keep teams from doing that. And I got the biggest kick out of that because it's such hooey. I mean, there is no way in the world the NBA is ever sending any of their billion-dollar franchises into the G League. I mean, it's never going to happen. So why you'd even bring that up, I have no idea. I mean, there's no way that anybody who paid multiple hundreds of millions of dollars for franchises that are now worth in the billions, and some of those teams may have paid in the billions to get them, and that they're going to say, "Oh yeah, we'll play in the G League. That's okay with us." It was such hooey that I found it very amusing that would be something that was discussed by the commissioner of the league.
And not only that, Mike, Chris Teneri talks about this a lot of times when he comes on. It's not like the NFL where the worst team gets the best draft. It's a lottery. So I understand you get a better chance if you quote unquote tank, but what happens if you tank and you end up with the 4th or 5th pick or whatever the case might. I don't know how the order breaks down, but there's no guarantee of that. I think the NBA has one of the best policies in place to kind of prevent tanking. So I don't know. It was just weird, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, this would be the one year the Pacers really stink, and they implement some sort of dumb rule where they can't get Wembanyama, and that's just my luck.
I don't like the idea of doing it on a consistent annual basis, and there are teams that do that, but the league is set up so that you need someone like that to be successful. I mean, if you look over the last 2 decades, 25 years, if you want, you can go back forever if you want. And nobody wins it without that. The Pacers, it took having probably the greatest technician on the bench of all time in Larry Brown. And in 2004, they were able to win a championship without such a player. And other than that, you can't. Right. Now, that player doesn't always come dressed as you expect him to. I mean, Steph Curry coming out of Davidson, everybody knew he was terrific, but nobody knew he would change the game in the way that he has. But you still need to have him. I mean, you don't win those 4 titles if you don't have Steph Curry.
Right.
That's just, that's reality. So that you're in a league like that. So absolutely, it makes sense if such a player is available, and it doesn't come up that often. But if such a player is available, like Victor is, or appears to be, like we knew LeBron was in 2003, I absolutely understand why there's a drive to have such a player on my team.
Absolutely. And now the big question is, and our buddy Mike or Bob Kravitz, he's pushing for the Pacers to tank and to get to the point to where they've not gotten before, and instead of always, they fight, they play hard, they stay in that middle ground where they always have those middle picks, and he's like, tank it, man, just let's go down, let's get the good stuff. What's the guy's name? Wembanyama?
Victor Wembanyama. You got to learn how to pronounce it just in case he winds up in Pacers gear.
I actually had it, but it's got to be in front of me so I can see it. Wembanyama. If I see it, I can say it, but it was not in front of me right now. Yeah, Victor Wembanyama. He is like, is he the biggest name since who is the biggest? You think?
Oh, I guess it depends on how you look at it, but probably Zion. I think Zion had that kind of buzz coming out of Duke. Now, he didn't have it going into his 1 year as a Blue Devil. He got it when he came here in Indy for the Champions Classic and destroyed Kentucky almost by himself. He had help, but I think he could have done it by himself that night. And so that's when it began for him. Wembanyama's been out there. When you have a player who is 7'3", 7'4", and as ridiculously skilled as he is, that's going to be out there longer. When the U.S. played in the U20, U19 World Cup last summer, people who watched that on YouTube or whatever had a chance to see what he was about, and also had a chance to see Kenneth Lofton Jr. of Louisiana Tech, who was only 6'6", physically wreck him with his low post ability, and so it was interesting to see that. But he has shown his just incredible skill. He's a player very reminiscent of Ralph Sampson in the 80s. I think if you look at him, there's a lot of similarity there. And he's not as physically developed as Ralph was after 4 years at Virginia, but of course, he's younger than Ralph was after 4 years at Virginia. I think if you look at Ralph coming out of high school or coming out of his freshman year, he looked a lot like Victor physically. And so maybe Victor, when he gets through 2-3 years of NBA weight training, can have the kind of body that Ralph eventually got.
I think someone needs some weight training. Is your boy that came from Gonzaga?
Chet Holmgren.
Chet Holmgren. But when I was out in Portland, I will say that I was I was surprised he could play in it, but these were college guys he could play in the middle with. I don't know size. I don't expect to see him in the middle much in the NBA, at least not for a couple of years.
No, well, right now all he has to do is lift weights. So maybe we'll see a different Chet when he's able to play next year. Presumably, he's out for the year with a foot injury, and so he doesn't have much to do other than see if he can build up his upper body and build up his strength and perhaps be a more emphatic player when he gets back.
But Kevin Durant made a career out of not being. I mean, he's not he came into the league and he wasn't able to bench 185 or something crazy like that.
Right.
He's had a pretty solid career. So he needs to develop, but it's not. You don't have to look like LeBron James to be successful in the NBA.
You don't, but you have to remember Kevin is actually a guard. The difference with Kevin is he is a guard who happens to be 7 foot tall, and
sure. There's
never been anyone like him in that sense. And Victor has a lot of perimeter skill, but he's not a guard. He's a big guy. He just happens to be really, really skilled and able to take the ball from the perimeter to the rim in the right circumstance with the right traffic cleared out and that sort of thing. He can get by even smaller defenders. He's very quick, very agile, very skilled. But he's still going to be able to need to, when he gets up against the Draymond Green, like I mentioned with Kenneth Lofton. I mean, yeah. Kenneth Lofton, big-bodied, low-post player, and he was really able to do a lot of damage with just his physicality and going right through Victor. And Victor fouled out of that game, and the U.S. was able to win the gold medal. So that's an example of why he needs to get stronger. But again, he's a young player. It's not unusual for someone built like him to not have great strength.
Sure.
That's why there is NBA style weight training and physical development and nutrition and all that stuff. You don't see very many guys stay as lean as that after several years in the system with everything the NBA team has at its advantage.
Mike, recently, when I was up in Minnesota, as were you, I talked to Mike Woodson. I asked him about the IUK series, and I asked him, said, well, what's the quickest you think that this could happen? And he said he hoped within 2 or 3 seasons. And then the week after that, Calipari gets to steal all the thunder and let everyone know that an agreement in principle has been reached to renew this series that should have never been ended. But first of all, will Calipari be around when this series resumes in 2 years?
Yeah, I think he will. I don't think he's ready to leave basketball. The thing about John is that I have a difficult time seeing him as a retired person because
he won't retire.
But what else?
Just do something different.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen anybody with more energy in my entire life than John has.
He can be the commissioner of the summer basketball league that he's talking about.
Yeah, I still don't quite understand the purpose or value of that. But it's not a bad thing necessarily to have guys play. I just don't know what that does for anybody. But he just has so much energy that I'm sure that he'll be there in 2 years. I'm also sure that it would be a happier 2 years if they had a successful NCAA tournament this year, because there's some cranky fans there after the St. Peter's game. I think it would be very good for him and his comfort if they got to the Final Four this year. I think Kentucky fans believe that they should be in there every year and are happy if they're in there maybe every 2 or 3 years. And it's been since 2015. So I think it's probably time for them to make a run.
The next question has been everyone guessing what the setup will be for games, of course. And I think that they're going to play in Gainbridge. And I think that they're going to play in the Yum Center in Louisville, personally, at least the first 2 games. If if there's a home and home involved, that's when I really think that Calipari won't be around if he's agreed to that by then. But we'll see how it's set up. If it's just a 2-year 1-1 to start with, like and I said this, the Kansas game is a home and home, a one-off 1-1, and I think that this is going to take the place of that on a permanent nature. But the setup, of course, IU would love to have it to be a home and home, and Calipari does not want that. I would rather see it be a home and home just because of the nature of the teams, but also you by introducing Yum Center and Gamebridge, you can get a few more thousand people in, but not a lot. I mean, you're looking at 4,000 really. Much, and not any more than Rupp.
Right. It actually takes the overall attendance down in the 2-year period probably by about 2,000.
Yeah.
But I'm a big believer, Jim, that the one person that isn't getting the best possible deal in college basketball is the season ticket holder. There are too many quality games that are played outside campus environments, and if you're Kentucky right now, you're playing 3 of those. That's too many. They don't need to play 3 high-level games. No, actually, it's more than 3. Well, Kentucky doesn't play in multi-team events for the most part. But, right now they're playing 3 high-level games outside their home environment. They're playing the Champions Classic. They're playing the CBS Sports Classic. And then the third game would be this. So that's too many.
They've also added Gonzaga.
Right, but Gonzaga is going to be a home game. Well, it's going to be a home environment game in Tacoma. Not Tacoma. Spokane. Yeah, it's Spokane. They're playing in a bigger arena because they can get more people in. But
then they are going to home and home
eventually. Yeah,
yeah.
But I think Kentucky's going to wind up with more pure home games in that series than Gonzaga, if I'm correct. I may be wrong about that.
Which is usually not the case because he usually puts them, like you said, in these different types of environments. It is, I guess, a good maybe NCAA treatment, but at the same time, he does not put his team in a position of being at a disadvantage, if at all possible. I don't think he seems to like the home and homes.
He doesn't like multi-team events because he thinks that there's only one application in which that's duplicated, which is the conference tournament, which is not his goal. It's the NCAA. So he likes playing neutral games, and I get that. But I think if you make this a neutral site event, again, you're taking Kentucky away from the Rupp fans. That's 3 times, and that's a lot. And that, again, that's not all. Those 2 are always in place, and there have been others. They played Baylor and Dallas one year. So others come. They played in the Garden against Seton Hall and stuff like that. And at what point do you say to the people who buy the tickets and make those donations to buy the tickets, hey, here, we're going to give you the best possible product. It shouldn't just be you're buying season tickets to watch bye games and conference games. There should be more. And Kentucky is not alone in that. There are others that do that as well. But I think that the season ticket holder needs the best possible product for his or her money. And so that's one of the reasons why challenges like the ACC Big Ten are so great, because they're always home environment games, which means that if you buy an Indiana season ticket every other year, you're going to get a quality ACC opponent. In addition to a terrific Big Ten schedule, you're getting that at minimum, and then whatever else the Hoosiers put together. So I'm a big believer in the season ticket holder and that person getting the best possible product. I like the multi-team events because that they get the opportunity for teams to play in neutral court environments, and it gives everybody a shot, so to speak, at getting quality wins for the NCAA tournament. But if you're constantly playing I will say, I think the CBS Sports Classic is not an ideal arrangement as it is, because people don't show up for the most part. They've had They played in New Orleans one year, and the crowd barely was out of the hundreds. Take that tournament, fine, do that, but at the very least, put it on. 1 year Ohio State, 1 year at Columbus, 1 year at Rupp, 1 year at Dean Dome, and 1 year at Pauley. Do that. Okay, great. That's a great, for a season ticket holder. Then what a cool addition to your package you're getting. It's only one every 4 years, but once every 4 years you get to see a cool doubleheader. Yeah. So I think that those kinds of things, they need to be a little bit more. It needs to be a little bit more ingenuity on how to make the season ticket holders package worth as much as it can be.
Well, if you're going to have them play UK and Michigan and London, which is cool, why I would try to have the undercard a hell of a lot better than Marist and Maine. I don't understand if you're making that kind of a big event, and this is nothing to do with Kentucky or Michigan. It's whoever did this event. Man, if you're going to that, why not have two other big? I don't get that.
You probably have to pay the big time teams. You have to pay the big time teams more, but I don't know why you couldn't have gotten two high level.
Anybody that would have been great. I mean,
Marist hasn't been in the NCAA tournament, I don't think, since Rick Smits, and I'm not sure that Maine has ever. I wouldn't be surprised if they were on the list of nevers, because I can't in my lifetime remember Maine making an NCAA tournament appearance. So why not, like a Murray State against, let's say Loyola Chicago, somebody like that. I mean, just using two teams that have great histories and performances. I don't really understand Marist versus Maine. I don't know what you get out of that.
Mike, what is next for you, my friend?
Well, I am knee deep in preparing for two massive parts of my job. We have college basketball 2 weeks from today. Well, we'll have it less than 2 weeks from today, but we will have huge college basketball 2 weeks from today in Indianapolis with the Champions Classic. We're really excited about that. And so I will be putting out our All-America team next Monday, I think it is, or Tuesday. Then our top 25. Our top 25 will be out next Monday. And then our All-America team the following Monday. So really excited about getting that going. And then, of course, the World Cup starts 2 weeks after that. So a crazy time for me. Really excited about all the stuff I'll be doing on both of those fronts from November 20th to December 20th or so. I don't remember what day the final is, but with those two things going on at once, my wife is going to be she's not going to be seeing nearly as much of me as she usually likes.
Quick question. The last question is your thoughts on the preseason All-American selections. To me, this, not who they are, but I was thinking about this earlier. Everybody does it, so I understand why you guys do it as well. But it's, to me, it does the same thing that they do by the Heisman thing in the front. Stop putting these guys up 3 months in ahead advance. Let the season play out. Get a good, because to me, the guys who are going to win the Heisman are predetermined before the season starts. The five guys that are up there, unless it just changes drastically, that's coming from there. And it's coming from those teams, whether it's Alabama or so forth. And I just wish the season, but that's just like preseason top 25s and all that. And I can
Jim, can I ask you a question?
Get off my lawn.
No, what are we doing right now?
Exactly. It's
we are engaged on a sports talk show. We are talking about sports. That's what all preseason All-Americans and top 25s are about. They're about conversation. They give us something to discuss. Do you think Trace Jackson Davis is an All-American? Is he, is he going to have the kind of year that makes him a first-team All-American? How do you leave Hunter Dickinson off the first All-American team if you're going to put all the – I mean, that's what this is about. Don't have to take sports so seriously. It's supposed to be about fun and conversation. And for me, when people talk about I can't remember who it was. It might have been, I don't know for sure, but one of the top college football analysts was saying you should never take a poll. I will say it was Todd Blackledge. Never take a poll before the 4th week because you're being too serious about it. It's just conversation. That's all it is. It's going to change, or if the teams that are at the top don't win, it'll change. If the teams that are at the top win, it won't change. But the stupid football playoff committee at least does one thing right, and they don't start doing the rankings that matter relative to the tournament until next week, I think it is, maybe this week. But it's near the end of the season. We're already through like 8 weeks. So the ones that the AP puts out there, it's all for conversation. That's why they do it. I would never vote in an AP poll because it's way too much work for the money, which is lots of work, no money. Yeah. If they paid you, I'd do it, but I'm not doing their work for no money. So that's, but I don't have any problem with its existence because I know what it's there for. It's there so that you and me and Dustin can sit here every Tuesday and talk about it.
I agree. You have corrected me, and rightfully so. I would be without a job if it weren't for that.
There you go.
I cannot thank you enough, my friend. Look forward to it, and have a great rest of your week. Indiana's got a bye week, so it's supposed to be kind of a slow week for us, but then Indiana has an exhibition game on Saturday, so we'll get a look at the Hoosiers this Saturday.
Exciting. I think it's going to be a very, very interesting year for the Hoosiers. Very much looking forward to it, and they might even have a preseason All-American on their team.
Man, imagine that, baby. We'll find out. The
Thanks,
great
guys.
All-American Mike DeCourcy joining us from the Sporting News. Can't thank you enough, man. We've got lots more coming up. Brought to you by our good friends from Cheryl Sizemore of Remax Realty. If you're in the home for a market or in the market for a home in the Indianapolis area, you definitely need Cheryl Sizemore. And her 2 decades of experience, it could be the difference between you getting the home you want there or not. Or if you're in the southern Indiana, Louisville, Floyd, Clark, Harrison, Scott County areas down there, you definitely need Barbara Pop Real Estate Services, who has served that community for 3 decades. They will definitely get you in the home you want for the least amount of price. Reach out to Barbara at barbarapop.com or Matt Lincoln, matt@barbarapop.com. We're back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Andy Moore. Hey, John, can you find the Quentin Williams clip that it's about calamari, but he's actually playing Kyler Murray? They asked him about playing Kyler Murray, but he pronounces it calamari.
Let's see.
It should be Quentin Williams' national championship clip. I bet will come right up. And he's killing it in the NFL now, by the way. This is one of my funnest, greatest, favorite clips of all time.
And he just pauses.
No, it's like, I swear, Nick, listen, when you listen to it, it's like Nick Saban comes down in the middle of it and grabs him by the throat, and he makes this guttural sound.
Yeah, he did.
I'm good.
That was so funny.
All right, I've got it.
It's one of my favorites of all time. Somebody called him calamari earlier.
I know, I saw that too. I thought it was funny. Jim Nance last year for the Final Four.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday.
Yeah, that's a possibility, but what's the best indoor arena they have there?
I think we're overthinking this. I think it's going to be
it's going to be
home and home plus a game in Louisville and a game in Indianapolis.
I don't know about the home and home.
They will do a home and home.
I don't
Here's
know
the thing. They don't play any good teams at home. They play so many neutral site games. UK fans have been clamoring about having a good opponent in Rupp other than Louisville. And Louisville's not even good right now. That's
Calipari, man. He doesn't want that. When he canceled this series, Indiana was the number one team in the country, coming in as the number one team in the country.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want that.
That's true.
Yeah, I still think
I don't want to hear that. He got his ass beat. He got his ass beat. I don't want to hear this crap about Indiana storming the court. That had nothing to do with nothing. Are you kidding me? That's really your reason? BS. You got you had a number one team that got your ass beat, and then that same team would have been coming into your place as the number one team the following year. Didn't want anything to do with it.
All right, here we go.
Cheryl Sizemore from Remax Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com.
This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday, brought to you by our good friends at Feast Market and Cellar, located right next door to Southern Stone on Patterson and Rogers. An incredible place to eat. They have an incredible selection of wine with a sommelier on staff, handmade food. It's a pretty popular place. Someone asked about Demezi Anderson a minute ago, and Ross says Demezi is now at Detroit, I guess, with Mike Davis after sitting out last year at Loyola. So there's that. Someone mentioned Calipari earlier, or called him Calamari, which reminds me of my favorite clip from Quentin Williams of Alabama a few years ago when they were playing Kyler Murray, and did he play for Oklahoma?
Yes.
And someone asked about, have you played against a quarterback the caliber of Kyler Murray, and blah blah blah, and he just calls him Calamari. But it's like, if you listen to this, he starts to answer, and it is as if Nick Saban comes down in the middle of this and grabs him by the throat, and he makes this utteral sound, and then I'm good. Go ahead and run this. This is funny.
Have you gone up against any quarterback that slightly resembles Kyler Murray?
No, I don't feel like I have going against a quarterback slightly resembling Kyler Murray, but I feel like Kyler Murray is not where everybody.
What's that?
No, I'm good.
I can never not just laugh my ass off at that. I'm like,
yeah, that's good.
Oh, because he was all. Oh, and I don't think Calamari is. I mean, how do you stop? I can't stop like he was full throated. He was boom from the word go. He was committed to that, and to be able to stop right there.
Yep,
buddy. I would need Nick Saban to come down and put his hands around my throat. That's funny, just hilarious. I love that. Josh thinks that with the addition of Gonzaga and IU, Cal seems to be taking the criticism differently. Well, Gonzaga is still not a home and home. It is later years down the road.
I still think this is
adding. We don't know the details of the IU thing yet. So if it's not a home and home, which I seriously doubt, I don't know that it's IU will just be replacing someone else on their schedule, without question. But
here's the thing. I think I still maintain that Mark Stoops calling out Calipari on Twitter and getting a lot of positive feedback for him standing up to the head basketball coach. I think that Kentucky's AD, I can never remember his name.
Mitch Barnhart.
Mitch Barnhart, I think that gave him the courage to be like, you know what? We're going to bring this series back. I think that Mike Woodson pushed it. I think that helped. And then I think on top of that, Calipari would be just fine never playing this series again. He doesn't care. It doesn't impact him at all. He didn't grow up with it.
Yes, he does. No, he couldn't care less.
Right. So that's what I think. I think that Mitch Barnhart wants to, you know what? I'm the athletic director here. This is what we're going to do. Now, we don't know the specifics. Maybe there might be some negotiation within that Kentucky locker room or those facilities and be like, I don't want to play a home and home, that's fine. We'll play him at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and wherever else. But I still think that that's part of it. I don't think John Calipari had this revelation that all of a sudden he wants to bring the Indiana series back. He didn't play him for a decade, didn't bother him a bit. So he's not the guy, in my opinion. The timing was too perfect. I think Mike Woodson coming to Indiana, making a push to get that series back. I think the Mark Stoops effect on Mitch Barnhart made a difference. I think those are the factors here. It wasn't none of this, in my opinion, was Calipari wanting this series at all.
No, I believe that. I mean, but it's just stupid for college basketball. It's stupid to let someone who thinks that they are bigger than the game control that. And I think it has cast Mitch Barnhart in a bad light, because it has been kind of the Kevin Warren, Barry Alvarez thing. I'm like, who's actually the commissioner of the Big Ten? Who's actually the AD running that? Which, well, no, with all fairness, if this was Bob Knight and he didn't want to play somebody, I don't think they'd be playing him.
Right.
Pure and simple. But when you get to a level, you get a little more power and a cachet, and he has that. But to do that here is just ridiculous. I mean, this is just about ego. I mean, there's just no question to me. This ended purely about ego. He got his ass. He had a number one team. He got his ass beat by a team that he shouldn't have lost to. And then the following season, if Indiana had been able to come into Rupp like they were supposed to, they would have had the number one team in the country. He didn't want anything to do with that. He hadn't lost yet at Kentucky at home, by the way. It's another thing. He had not lost a game in Rupp Arena at that point.
I didn't know that.
Up till then. I think he would lose to Texas A&M that season at home first, but he hadn't lost a game yet. He did not want number one Indiana coming into Rupp Arena. I'm telling you, I believe that.
I believe it too, which is weird.
And the last time Indiana and Kentucky has played was the NCAA tournament, and Indiana beat Kentucky. So there's that.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. I didn't know that part about him not losing a home game. Which it's weird though. The number one team coming in.
So
yeah, go ahead.
Let's do that, and we'll pick up this back when we come back. Chronic Hoosier is going to join us, so I'm sure that he wouldn't mind jumping in on that conversation. Dustin Schutte from Outsider.com, of course, our co-host, always with us. Jim Coyle with you, back with more. Brought to you by our good friends at Metalworks Brewing Company, located right off the square in Bloomington. Caddy corner from Cabello Restaurant, former Function Brewing Company, located. They love their desire for craft beer, craft metalworks, and being a part of the community. Make sure you stop in. Great place to have a bite and a brew. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Hey, this is John.
Hello, Chronic.
What up?
Seems like it's been a minute. Sorry we had to make that change last week. Dane came on.
No worries.
I have to give him props. I've been talking to him for a while, and I just told him, I said, I tell you what, you just come on whenever you're comfortable and ready to come on. I said, just don't go on anybody else first. Well, and I had been thinking about texting him like that Monday, but he called me instead and said, hey, I'm supposed to go on Dockage Wednesday. And I thought he was going to say, I know I told you, but, but he didn't. He didn't say a word. So I'm like, so is tomorrow good? And he's like, yeah, what time?
Where's he at now?
He's here in Bloomington, man.
But he's still in town. He never split.
Nope. He is still right here.
I know they had a hell of a time finding a place here in town when they first came down.
Oh, yeah. Who did?
Like everybody in Bloomington.
Yeah, that was a rough time at that moment. But no, he's still here, man. He's part-time, or he's just helps with the Indiana Elite program, and is now going to be doing some TV work. Hopefully moving on to the Big Ten.
I saw that.
But yeah, I've been talking to him about that a lot. But so that's good. And then people have been commenting on. Did you listen to him on Dockage?
No, I did not. Not. Last Wednesday.
He was on Dockage the day after me, and I've had people comment on our thing of him saying that, yeah, he went on there and said this and that. I'm like, there's no way. That's not true. That he was the coach in waiting and all this bullshit. I don't believe. And there's been people on there that said he didn't say that. So why people say that crap? It drives me insane.
It's the number of things that, that come out of, I got a friend that's an insider in the program, works in equipment, works in medical. He heard this. It really, it's like its own little Reddit.
Yep.
All right, here we go.
That's right. Just $299 covers your green fees for the next 2 years at Eagle Point. It includes tee times starting as early as up to 10 a.m. with 1 week in advance tee time bookings. You just cover your card fees. Now, there is a limited number of memberships available, so go to eaglepoint.com right now and get yours today.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Tuesday. That means Chronic Hoosier joins us, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda. Andy Moore Honda, Bloomington. Your best selection of new and used vehicles. Go to andymoorehonda.com today, and they will get you set up and rolling off the lot, baby. Chronic Hoosier joins us. How are you, man? It's been a couple weeks.
It has been a minute, man. I am happy to be back. Happy to be staring down the start of another IU basketball season. Not so happy to be looking at the bye week for football, but it is what it is, and last week, full week, I guess, of October. So ready to jump into the next phase of the calendar here in B-Town.
Yeah, we'll get to football talk out of the way quickly. I say that only because, gosh dang it, you've had games that the Maryland game, the Nebraska game, and the Rutgers game, all games that I'm going to say should have won, not could have, should have won, which would have made them bowl eligible. And there is they've got a snowball's chance in hell now, I think, of bowl eligibility, obviously. And it's kind of a back to the drawing board thing, Chronic, with this offense that is, I cannot believe with some of the pieces that they have, that they cannot find a way to run the frickin' ball.
Well, one thing that's been astonishingly clear this year, Kevin Wilson said it. I've said it a couple times this season. I've said it for years since he first uttered it. Your offense is what you can block. And in the case of the Indiana Hoosiers, the offense is basically how quickly Bazelak can get the ball out of his hands and try to find an open receiver before he's looking at a lot of heat. And it's unfortunately an issue that was well known, pretty well documented, pretty statistically obvious after last year. And, without any meaningful improvements or changes in that on that front, surprise, you get the same result when you do the same thing. And here we are looking at what's probably a lost season at this point. And it's just really, really unfortunate. This is a team that I think showed way, way more potential. Last year, it was a lot easier to look at some of the injuries, coming out of COVID and all that. And I was like, wow, is this a fluke or what? I feel like this year's team is more talented. They're more capable. At least the offensive numbers would bear that out. But at the end of the day, this is a team that is woefully incomplete and quite frankly looks rather inept more often than not. And, you cannot be incomplete and expect to compete in Power 5 football, not to mention the Big Ten East right now. And Indiana is certainly paying the price for not making improvements where they probably needed them most, and that's up front, because I feel like they've got a quarterback who is capable of doing some things for this team that can put them in position to win ball games. Unfortunately, and this goes across the board, we have not seen IU football compete for 4 quarters a single time this season, not even for a majority of the game this season. And to be this far into the year and still looking for just one instance of complete or close to complete football is really, really unfortunate, and reflects rather poorly, I'd say, on the program at the moment.
Well,
Dustin,
and not only
I was going to say there's 3 things that just stick out to me. When you lost Kalen DeBoer, when you lost Kane Womack, and just simply not replacing Darren Hiller 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Those 3 things are encapsulated, and not losing Kalen DeBoer and Kalen Womack so much as the replacements were just horrible. And that has just been a jumping off of the mountain point for this program, along with the offensive line, the just completely ignoring the problems there. And there was nothing done via the portal in the offseason to solidify that. And I don't know if that was because they simply couldn't get it done. And that's even a scarier thought to have, that they couldn't even get them out of the portal.
Right. Well, and one of the things that's frustrating that we talked about with Don Fisher on Monday was, we've seen times, you saw it in the Rutgers game, there have been drives throughout the season where they'll incorporate the option. They'll incorporate Connor Bay's like moving around, some quick passes. Like the offense looks different for maybe a drive, and they've been really successful. They scored a touchdown on that, doing that stuff in the first drive against Rutgers, and then they just completely went away from it. And I understand that Rutgers is going to make adjustments. Other defenses in the Big Ten are going to make adjustments. But it's almost like I don't know. It's almost like they tighten up at a certain point, and they lose those creative juices. Like at this point in the season, you've got nothing to lose. What are you try something else? You cannot you can't run between the tackles. You can't do what a standard offense can do. You've got to try to be creative. And when they've done that, I feel like a majority of the time it's worked. You're going to be no worse off trying some of this stuff. I just don't know why they go away from it. That's been one of the more puzzling things to me. I don't know. I still think that Tom Allen is a good coach and can do some good things with this program, and he wants to be there, which is a big thing. But to me, what we've seen from this offense and some of the spots they've been put in, it's just poor coaching, man.
Yeah, no, they look wholly undisciplined, oftentimes unprepared, and at the end of the day, just unable to execute. And I don't think that's limited to a certain position group right now. Execution across the board, tackling this season has been pretty abysmal. And just like blocking up front, that's a pretty critical part of the game. And like I said earlier, they just look pretty thoroughly inept more often than not. And it's even more frustrating when you see like that opening drive in Piscataway, just absolutely everything clicking for him. I tweeted out, it was a dream start, go up 14-0, just bang, bang. And then just to have the bottom completely drop out, for the basically the remaining 3.5 quarters is both, extraordinarily disheartening, but also absolutely predictable based off what we've seen this season. I think for me as a fan, that's probably the most frustrating part, is grasping for any sign of improvement. Give me something to try to rekindle some hope that things are going to improve. And coming off of last year, we had questioned whether or not how much goodwill Tom Allen had left in the tank, the program had left in the tank after the seasons leading up to that. And unfortunately, you find yourself a season and a half later, after you had a legitimate argument to be in the New Year's Six, and now it's like night and day, just Jekyll and Hyde, and it's unfortunate. It's extraordinarily unfortunate, And it's an all too familiar position for Indiana fans, where the apathy is just rampant right now. And, you get the sense that things are spiraling, and it's got to take something, anything, to break that spiral, to pull up on the stick and get the trajectory back where it needs to be, just for the health of the program. And unfortunately, the way the schedule sets up for the remainder of the season, it's going to be awfully tough to do, because, even if you beat Michigan State, even if you upset Purdue, any win at this point forward is going to be considered an upset, at least in the eyes of Vegas. At that point, you're kind of in that too little, too late category. So for me, give me something, show me that you guys can compete for 3 quarters, heaven forbid 4 quarters, and actually put a complete game together. But show some sign of life at this point, because as we saw last year, we have officially entered the territory where it looks like the season slipped away, and some of that, starts to spill into the play and the body language on the sideline and on the field. And it's as I said earlier, it's poisonous for a program. It's absolutely poisonous when that level of apathy kicks in. We've all seen what the atmosphere is like when fans are calling for coaches' heads. And, unfortunately, it wasn't Tom Allen's head on the chopping block after last season. It's not the one that fans were calling for at the beginning of this season, as some of the losses started to mount up. But, too little, too late in making some of those coaching adjustments. And now, that talk starts to bubble up coming for Coach Allen. And it's unfortunate, because I do think he's got a lot of potential left. I just think part of it, as Dustin just mentioned, it's who you put around you, and you as well, Jim.
Without question. I agree 1,000%. I love Coach Allen, but I think his inexperience has really shown. He, like I mentioned a minute ago, when he had Kalen DeBoer and Kane Womack, man, things were rolling. And I think the inexperience of thinking that, oh, well, we can just keep this train going. No, that's not the case. It's people. Look what Kalen DeBoer is doing at Washington. That's not by accident.
And you can't have it both ways either. If you're Indiana, you cannot, be the program that's constantly trying to stay afloat by catching those rising stars right as they're lifting off, getting the extraordinary talent on the cheap, and expecting to be able to retain them without having to pony up. And, all the talk that we couldn't afford Hiller's buyout last year. This is a program that's about ready to start cashing out on the largest media rights deal in the history of college athletics. You got to pick a lane, and you need to stay in it. So either you want to compete at the highest levels, and you want, which requires, devoting those types of resources, or not. But one way or another, you kind of have to make your intentions known, so that fans have something to believe in here. Because, for a program, again, that was 22 months ago was talking about how they got robbed out of a New Year's Six bowl, and now you can't,
and rightfully so.
And now you can't afford to hire a competent staff, which is
a couple of years ago, though. You're looking at a team that had the talent that say Washington has, as we watch Michael Penix look like a potential Pac-12 player of the year out there. But that was what Indiana had, and nothing close to that now. The offense is so night and day, and it's about coaching. It's about Tom Allen. I think he's great and good for IU, but he has to have good coordinators around him. He just does, especially on the offensive side. That is not his milieu, and recovering from the Nick Sheridan debacle is still underway, and the Darren Hiller debacle it's still underway, because it didn't end until it was too late. So that stuff's not going to change this year, unfortunately.
No, I agree. And, it's a tough situation for a guy like Walt Bell to step into. He inherited this hodgepodge of a roster and of position coaches and everything else. And, I think you've seen the program, at least schematically, try to cover for some of those deficiencies with, tempo. That's a double-edged sword, because when you're not executing, all you're doing is putting an already gassed defense back on the field, even sooner. And, as the season wears on and those legs get more tired with each passing week, I think you're seeing the result of what happens when the tempo, when you can't cash in on that. And, the defense, they leaves quite a bit to be desired, I'll say, as well, from where I expected it to be at this point.
Well, Dustin, go ahead.
I was just going to ask one question I had too, Chronic, and I'd like to get your opinion. One of the things that I think is interesting about some of the coaching decisions, the staff hires, and that sort of thing, I've kind of wondered. Tom Allen is unique in his intensity. He's not afraid to jump over an assistant, get loud and yell and scream on the sideline. That's just who he is, and I don't have a problem with that. But I also wonder if I also wonder if there's a lot of assistant coaches, a lot of coordinators who look at that or hear things about that, because this is coaching is a big community, and they're just like, yeah, I'm not going to deal with that kind of stuff. It's one thing when it's a guy like Nick Saban and he's got 6-7 national championships behind him, and you're going to get another really good either coordinator position or you're going to get a head coaching job somewhere. But when it's a guy at Indiana who's relatively new to the coaching business in terms of being a head coach, I just wonder if the applicant pool maybe isn't as deep as what you might think, considering the success he had in 2019 and 2020.
I certainly can't speak to the coaching community and how that's viewed within those circles. But what I will say from just an organizational development standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, when your thing is emotion, when that's your primary motivator, it is not uncommon for emotion to cloud judgment and to affect discipline. It's such a fine line. You obviously want to keep your guys keyed up. You want everybody jacked and ready to go, biting at the bit, if you will. At the end of the day, there is a marked difference, I think, with teams that focus, that are run on execution and discipline of execution. And unfortunately, it appears, Indiana often appears extraordinarily undisciplined, extraordinarily emotional at times to their detriment. And I don't know, I'm not going to pretend that I'm in the locker room, that I'm on the sidelines, that I'm piped into the earpieces in game. But just from what you can see on film, what you see watching the games, they could certainly stand to tone down some of the emotion, perhaps, and dial up some of the execution and some of the discipline, because this is a team, as we've said over and over and over again, their margin of error is so slim. To see a team that consistently finds ways to beat themselves is unfortunate, because those are controllables. There's only so many things you can control, and you have to maximize your focus on those things that you can impact directly. And I think Indiana has fallen woefully short in that category for several years, well predating this slump.
The good news for other fans, they get to look forward to, there's a bye week this week, obviously, for Indiana football. They are not playing, but the basketball team will be on the court for the first time in an exhibition game. A lot of people looking excited, very excited for that. So this Saturday at 3, got that to look forward to, Chronic.
It's game week, baby. It absolutely blew my mind yesterday. Look at the calendar and see that highlighted here on Saturday. It doesn't seem real, partly because it still feels like fall. I mean, normally autumn has been so abbreviated here. You get like one nice week of weather and leaves, and then it gets wet and droopy and dismal, and it's still absolutely stunning outside, particularly this morning for those that were able to catch it. But no, it's here and it's glorious. And for all the woe is me around Memorial Stadium right now, I had to take a step back last night and just think back to all the naysayers and some of the critics of the Mike Woodson hire, not that long ago, even a shorter distance ago than IU complaining that they got gypped out of the New Year's Six Bowl. Folks just weren't sure if this was going to work out. folks thought this was a last ditch hire, and lo and behold, year two, Woody's got the Hoosiers preseason pick to win the Big Ten, and popping up on the national radar once again. So it's a night and day difference between the two programs across the lot there on 17th Street. But it's been a minute since I've been this excited about the prospect of an Indiana basketball season.
Well, we're only 3 weeks. If I'm trying to get my calendar pull up to look at when the game with Xavier is on November 18th, but that's about 3 weeks away. Just guessing, right?
Yeah, no, November 18th. It's right around the corner.
Which
3 weeks from Friday.
Yeah, they have games before that, of course, a couple. They've got the 2 exhibition games with Marion this Saturday, and then they follow up another one next Thursday against St. Francis, and then they kick off the season November 7th against Morehead State, and then Bethune-Cookman comes in 3 days later, and then they travel to Xavier for a real game, baby. It gets real fast.
No, and I love this schedule. I absolutely love this schedule. This is kind of reminiscent of what IU soccer does. I mean, they will play the best anywhere, anytime. Doesn't matter home or away. Looking to test this team and see what he's got. And we said last year, for as soft as the non-conference schedule was, knowing what a grind the Big Ten would be, it's okay. For a coach that's kind of new in this realm of college athletics, new with the program, kind of ease his way into it. But man, you want to talk about a tall test right now. I think, for the first time in years, Indiana fans are going to have a very good idea of exactly what type of potential this team has before the New Year's, before Big Ten season really begins in earnest right now. And, I don't expect them necessarily to be undefeated by the time, the New Year's rolls around. But I think you're going to see a team that's going to be tested pretty regularly. I love the fact that they start, with their first real challenge on the road in a hostile environment that's also, basically in Indiana's backyard, just across the border over in Cincinnati. I think that I'm just enthralled with that game. It's a place we don't typically travel to, but I think that's a great little rivalry to kind of fill in some of this blank space right now as we're waiting for another one of those border wars to heat back up. Which is on the horizon again now. But dude, I'm looking forward to it, and just optimism abounds right now around this program. Still curious to see where the shooting comes from, how effective or how much improvement they can make in the effectiveness in their perimeter shooting. But I think this is a team that on a lot of levels is going to give Indiana fans a lot of reasons to be proud of, and hopefully to support from start to finish here.
Looking forward to it, Chronic. I can't thank you enough, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me. Glad to be back. I know it's been a minute, but hopefully next week we'll have some fun things to talk about.
It's that time of season, man. It's that time of the season.
We'll catch you guys then. Thanks for having me, Jim.
Chronic Hoosier joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends at Andy Moore Honda. Make sure you stop by or look them up, andymorehonda.com. More coming back here with Indiana Sports Beat right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Whether you're visiting...
I don't think.
I think that's.
I think this isn't this Connor Bazelak's last year of eligibility?
No,
or am I wrong?
No. But if he can't beat him out, where's he going to go?
Well,
come on, Five Lefts, come on down. What up? The truth. Send food, baby. Yeah. Do we have any clips?
Nope. You're only gonna have 10 minutes anyway.
Oh. All right. Let's see.
What is today? Tuesday. When does the World Series start? Friday. Friday. Philadelphia at Cheaters. You know what? I meant to bring this up. Houston. Astros. What year did they cheat?
I don't know. That's the one thing it's hard for me to keep up with is pro baseball.
Astros cheating year, 2017. That's all you had to put in.
I thought it was like over a course of multiple years or something.
Well, yeah, but this is when they won a World Series. I can't believe they didn't take it away. To me, this was worse than
20 seconds.
Black Sox.
The Black Sox.
Chicago Black Sox, 1919.
All right, here we go.
Monday through Friday. If we're not on a station where you live, we should be. Ask for Indiana Sports Beat Radio. This segment is brought to you by Courtroom Sports Grill in Bedford. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday. I hope you're having a great day and a good week. Rain's kind of holding off at the moment. World Series a few days away. Those cheating Astros are back in, which to me, and I wish I would have had brought this up when Dustin had to run on assignment. This is the Houston Astros are as bad, if not worse, than the 1919 Chicago Black Sox. And they got, certain people got some severe punishment, but not like Shoeless Joe Jackson, who maintained his innocence and had a great series and is banned for life. Yet people like Altuve, who was wearing that stupid buzzer or whatever, I'll never forget the time he's about to score and he's saying, "Oh, no, don't pull my shirt off because I got this buzzer under me." It was he's still playing. He's playing in another World Series. It's just, that one really bothers me that they let it stand. It sucks. So I hope the Phillies win for a couple of reasons. A, I'm a National League guy. B, you got Cal Schwarber to cheer for on the Phils, and they're an underdog story, man. They're a wild card team. Not only are they a wild card team, they're the third place team out of their division for the National League, out of the National League East. So pretty good stuff there. So we'll see how that goes. Bill says he has some original newspaper articles on the Black Sox. Let's see. Hard to maintain Perkins. when surrounded by a soap opera. No, I'm not sure about that one. A lot of talk about the Big Ten Plus and all the other pluses. Big Ten Plus costs $200 a year. I thought it was like $5 a month. Are you serious? That's a lot. On top of a regular cable subscription, I'm out. If that is the case, that's just too much payment. What are we talking here? I don't want to accept anything. Just show me how much it is. Damn it, you got to accept it all. All right, if you want everything on the conference pass, that's $119. If you want one Big Ten school, it's not. Oh, pick the school. You got to pick the school. That's $80 for the year, or $10 a month. Or you can choose a single sport. You can just do basketball. That's only men's and women's. That's only $55 a year. If I'm looking at the right thing, which says Big Ten Plus. So there you go. There's that. It's just like, hey, you got to pay for stuff, man. It's just like, all of our sponsors. There's a reason we have them and need them desperately. That's how we're able to provide the content we're able to provide to you guys. That's how we're able to send people to games, to cover them, to cover recruiting, all of that stuff, to get guests on, the equipment, all that takes. Man, none of it's free. So we have to have the sponsors, and that's why I hope you guys support them and let them know that you hear it on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. That is of great help to us. And so if you like the program, then it's a circular thing, man. We need them and need you to help support them. Steelers fan, that's not doing fun. Five Left says he just does the $10 for a couple of months, and there you go. There's all kinds of way. Big Ten Plus used to be free for students. Not sure if that's still the case or not. Me either. I'll have to wait till we have Joe on, Joe the producer, one day. We can ask him, or one of the writers. But make sure you go to thehoosier.com. As a matter of fact, Trace Jackson Davis earns All-American AP honors. It's a new story up. He was named an AP All-American yesterday afternoon. He's joined by Oscar Shibwe, Drew Timme from Gonzaga, Armando Bacot from North Carolina, and Marcus Sasser of Houston. So Shibwe and Timme were unanimous selections, but there's a group that Trace Jackson Davis is in. It's at the top, baby. It's in the top 5. He was a preseason All-American last season and led Indiana back to the NCAA tournament, of course, for the first time since 2016, averaging just over 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 2 blocks a game. So another accolade for Indiana's top player. And you'll get to see him this Saturday, whether you're in attendance. And it's a great time for people who don't go to a lot of games to get to go. So if you're heading to Bloomington this weekend, let me know. Like I said, come out to BB's on Friday. We'll be out there doing the show as always, live from BB's. Hopefully Chef JD will be back there. He was not able to be there with us last time. He was on assignment. So there's that. You got the Caleb Banks season preview that is currently up, along with all of the other previews of IU basketball players at thehoosier.com. They have been through that, the entire team pretty thoroughly. So if you want to go there, you can get caught up on everything that's going on with the IU basketball roster. John Boy. Tomorrow we've got Bob Kravitz, as always. Kyle Nedrip, as football playoffs in Indiana have started and get started for the big boys tomorrow. And then, of course, the Hall of Famer, Rick Bozich. Looking forward to talking to him as always. I'm glad it's
1 minute.
I can't believe it's not raining. What's it like for you? Is it raining yet?
No, we don't have rain either.
That's awesome. I'm still trying to decide whether or not we should dress up on Monday. I know we should, but I'm considering whether I should put myself.
There's a chance that I'll be ordering a flight suit, a Top Gun flight suit, a cheap one off Amazon.
See, I was thinking I need just a bunch. There's a couple of different masks I've written down, and I'll just do a different segment wearing a different mask in that voice. How's that?
There you go.
But another great day as always. Cannot thank Dustin Schutte enough, our co-host from Outsider.com. Make sure you give him a follow if you're not. He's with us every day, and we look forward to that. Of course, Mike DeCourcy, the Hall of Fame writer from the Sporting News. Make sure you give him a follow as well, and go to the Sporting News for his content, all free. Chronic Hoosier, of course, joining us as well. Looking forward to that each and every week. And we're back tomorrow to do it again, and I can't wait. Most importantly, cannot thank you guys enough. Without you, there's no reason for us to be here. Big thanks to John, the producer, as well. But until tomorrow, we'll be back to do this again. Go out and have yourselves a great day. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. We'll see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.